Hello, everybody. Welcome to End of Day Update. I thought of doing a live session as well as giving an update on the market end of day so we can review together. This is a short-term chart. You can see red lines are resistance and green lines are support. Oh, by the way, guys, before I go further, there's a Discord link, free server chat link. If you want to join, description is in the video and where I post every day through my cell phone the levels, so it's easy for you guys to review instead of waiting for the video. And throughout the day also I post it. Also, if you want to subscribe, there's also a YouTube channel subscribe link, and I do have a private member where if I do post stocks to buy during the day. So see if you want to join if you're interested. Okay, so US 100, you can see green lines are support lines, red lines are resistance line, and yesterday we were closing on resistance, first standard deviation. Let me hide this Hull moving average so it's a bit not that confusing for you guys. So you can see now. So Nasdaq 100 closed on first standard deviation yesterday and then sold off right from first standard deviation to the first standard deviation to the bottom. So there were multiple times we took profits. It was here at one point, and I posted in the video and then in the chat as well. And I said this is a time to take profits, and minimal target is the neutral line. Then again at the end we ended right there. So it's on support right now. So if tomorrow is CPI day, 8:30 a.m. Eastern, so we're gonna have a big move pre-market. If we gap up, if we open 9:30 a.m. here, you should be looking to short. And if we gap down, we are already at the support. So I will be very surprised, to be honest, if we go too much down here, unless futures, they're a little bit green now, unless futures by 8:30 they are here in neutral zone. So what that means is from today's close, if we are up around 0.51%, by the time 8:30 a.m. they can then dump it and then again bring it back to the buy zone, and you should be looking to buy. Anyhow, I will provide levels in the morning, and we'll see how that goes pre-market. And US 500 also you can see came to the buy zone and now just bouncing from here. Dow Jones came from buy zone to massive sell zone, came to second standard deviation, now consolidating near neutral line. Russell 2000 is also now near neutral line. So why don't we quickly go and look into daily chart, and then these levels are mostly for day trading. So let's look at long-term analysis and see what's going on. So you can see this is triple Q. This is the cash index of Nasdaq. You can see what happened here. You can see this was a downward sloping resistance. We broke out, then we broke down. Now we broke out and we're just doing a back test. Looks like you can see this white line. You can see my mouse. Looks like it's a back test. And if I go to 1 hour chart, you can see, let me go to regular trading hours. You can see what happened. We gap up yesterday from Friday to Monday. Gap up, we never filled that gap, and today we came down and filled this gap. So very nice. So we can delete this. Now this gap is filled. Now there's another gap left. This was on 6th of September, gap down. So from today's close, if you get bullish CPI data, the gap is going to be around 1.37%, so we can close this gap tomorrow. Okay, I don't see any major gaps to the downside. There's a small gap. There's a major gap here, 332, and that's way far from here. So if it has to go all the way down there, that's like 5%. I don't know if it's going to happen in a one day, but just for something, so just something you should be keeping in mind. Okay, yeah. So triple Q's support is here. There's multiple support. This white trend line, there is support, support broke out, and also there's this trend line. White trend line is closed right on support. So and also on the short-term chart, if I go to 1 minute chart, even on triple Q's, very close to buy zone. But basically on Nasdaq, it's already saying it's right on the support. So be very careful. So shorting, you don't want to short on support. You want to short on resistance, not on support. Okay. So yeah, okay, that's on triple Q's. S&P 500 short term is also same thing, near buy zone. And let's quickly look at SPY. This is S&P 500, and if I go to 1 hour chart, you can see same story. Monday we gap up, we never fill this gap, and today we gap down. We came and filled this gap, so I can delete these two gaps, and then also this bottom gap. So now there's not a lot of major gaps left. One gap left up, 449, and another gap around 456, and then this is massive gap around 420. Okay, so we are kind of in the middle. But again, futures are showing we closed on support. So if we do get a bounce from here, I think we're gonna most likely fill these two gaps. And from here, the targets for these two gaps are zero point 0.7 and 2.28%. All right. Dow Jones, no gaps for there, but looking closed flat, not bad. Looks like this could be an inverse. It's like a hanging man candle, like inverse. So we really want Dow Jones to pick up from here and try to close. It was up green very nicely one time during the day. IWM looks like it wants to create another trend line like this, right? So you can see new price action. We can draw another trend line. So it's on the support right now, okay? And there are multiple gaps to fill. So let's see. It's from my perspective, it's right on support. So if CPI data is good, we'll get a massive bounce on IWM as well. Let's look at gold daily chart. Gold, you can see on resistance here, sold down from resistance around 1950, now getting down. So I think this gap looks like they want to fill this gap using this. You can see this green line projection. Now, if CPI data is bad, that means if inflation is high, this might as well sell down tomorrow and fill this gap along with the stock market. So that's around 2% down. A 2% move is very big for gold, so might not happen in one day. But again, if CPI data is lower than expected, gold is going to rally. It could make another attempt to touch this resistance around 1950. Okay, so be mindful of that. Silver, same thing, getting close to the support line. You can see support, 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 support. Now again, getting close to support. So yeah, so around 2271 is the good area to buy. Natural gas, massive move today. It's buy the dip. It's already bottomed here in March, so look to buy all the dips. You can see multiple times it tagged this support line. So just look to buy dips. Crude oil, massive move. So now it's getting close to another resistance here. So that's the next level of resistance is around 90, 91, 92. So I think it's gonna rally till there. I don't see any divergence. Little bit divergence on PPO, no divergence on RSI. So if it keeps going higher, it can rally. Crude oil is looking really, really strong here. Dollar sold down, looks like. Yeah, it did sell down, but I don't know. Stocks were also stocks and gold were red for some reason, but dollar also was weakening. But again, this is the area dollar should be looking to weaken. It was resistance here, broke out, support here, then broke down, resistance, 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 broke down, and now again on resistance. Okay. Bitcoin, good news for the bulls. Daily chart of Bitcoin, you can see we got green dot again, and you can see green line never crossed red line, so everything is looking good. So Bitcoin is telling me that CPI will be lower than expected, and it's going to rally. That's what it's telling me. It's now again back on this trend line, so things are looking good for Bitcoin as far as my concern. And Ethereum, Ethereum also got me a green dot. However, this red line did not cross the green line yet. Okay, so I want green line to go above red line. Ethereum is lagging behind, so Bitcoin is going to lead. So keep an eye on Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin is looking like recovery, very very massive recovery. It did really really quick. Okay, and let's quickly look at bond. Buy the dip near support, so buy it. Copper again consolidated. Buy the dip, looking like it bottomed already. So this is support here, right where it came day before yesterday, around 3.71. Palladium bounce, massive bounce today. You can see massive bounce. I was telling everybody this is a support line, bullish falling wedge with higher momentum on PP and RSI broke out in the support. Now massive bounce. Wheat, you can see wheat is still on this trend line. Somebody told me to review wheat, but so you can see if you're watching this video, it was going down with bullish falling wedge, broke out, back tested this trend line, broke out. Again, now this is just a back test, okay? So this is the perfect area you should be looking to buy wheat when you want to buy when nobody wants to buy, and it's holding support very nicely. You can see we still have divergence on PPO and RSI. Keep accumulating. This is your probably the last chance before it starts to rally. It's going to probably rally like 5-6% one day. It seems like it. Con also consolidating and with bullish divergence on PP and RSI. So let's see, waiting for a breakout. Major resistance is around 5.28. Soya beans also near the buy zone. This is the zone you want to buy. Massive, looks like a big candle, but this is the area you want to buy. Sugar holding this trend line by the dip, looking to go to new all-time high. So everything is fine on sugar. Let's look at individual stocks. Let's start with the gold miners. NEM Newmont Mine kind of flat today near the buy zone. Gold miner GDX looks like it wants to fill this gap. There's a gap here. It filled one of the gaps. I think this gap is filled. It was around 28.41. You can see massive candle filled it. Now there's another gap around 27.97. Let's say 28. That's my target for gold miners. And let's look at individual stocks. Um, Apple down 1.71% below this trend line. So let's see if maybe Apple is on some kind of a support here. So you can see this whole area here. This does look like some kind of little bit support here. So I'm going to make this one green. This is also green. So Apple right on support, I think. You can see this was resistance, broke out, gap up and kept going higher. And we're now gapping down. So this is the area I think support. There's also this massive gap here around 166.14. It could come all the way down if September month is usually bearish seasonality wise. Let's see what happens. Tesla is just consolidating 2.23% after this massive gap up. This gap is here, so I don't know if it's going to come all the way down to fill this gap before go higher, or this is just a trap before it goes higher and fill this earnings gap. We'll know soon. Microsoft, you can see struggling to close above this trend line. Very hard for Microsoft to close above that. Are we making another secondary trend line? Let's see if I can draw something here. If I draw something, no, not a clean chart. So I don't have a clean trend line on Microsoft, but it's struggling to go above this white line. Okay, so as soon as it happens, that will be a good area to buy when it breakouts. Google also you can see a little bit of sell-off. You can see it came to this day, 7th of September, back tested, now going higher. So it's buy the dip on Google. Meta holding this trend line very nicely, and there's still gap little bit left, 298.48. So if it comes down to fill that gap, look to buy there. Amazon 1.31%. Let's go to 1 hour chart. Yeah, this gap is filled, so you can delete this. And there's another gap here around 138.32. So let's see. Amazon is looking bullish because it's above this trend line. As long as it's above this trend line, everything is good on Amazon. Netflix also holding this trend line very nicely, and you can see all the tags of this trend line you should be looking to buy. Snowflakes, uh, massive gap up, and still this gap is not filled. There's another massive gap here, so we'll see if it wants to fill that gap first, down this gap before go higher, or there's also a couple of gaps on the upside. So my preference is to go higher and fill those above gaps. Nvidia kind of flat below this trend line, but it could be just consolidating. Short-term chart is telling me that it's on support. So also this gap is here around 436. So maybe Nvidia will come down, fill this gap, and then bounce. It's so because it's so close to that gap anyhow. And AMD also on very nice support here. And yeah, waiting for a breakout on AMD as well. Let's quickly look at sectors and see how things are going. XLK, mostly Apple is in there, multiple gaps down, but let's see if we can now start pulling higher. XLE Energy, is it making a new all-time high? Yeah, it is. It did make a new all-time high. Unbelievable run. But it's on bearish momentum, new high on lower R momentum on PPO and lower momentum on RSI. What does that mean? RSI, PPO is making high, lower high, sorry, and then RSI is doing the same thing. You can see, but price action is doing other. Price action is making higher high. XLV Healthcare looks like this gap is filled. So well, let's go to 1 hour chart. So delete this. So now yeah, there's another gap here, so it can come down, fill this gap 131 before going higher, and there's another gap up here, so kind of in the middle. So if it comes down on green line, look to buy on that gap fill. Utility sector came to this massive support line, and now it's bouncing. with massive gap 61.81. So anytime if it comes to fill this gap, that will be a good opportunity to buy. Utility sector, industrial, looks like it's just selling off with Dow Jones, but the gap here is way down here. I think most likely it's going to go from here to fill that above gap. Real estate sector flat. You can draw a trend line like this, buy on the touch of this trend line, and financials also gap up. It could come down to fill this gap around 38.32 before it goes higher. Okay, so look for that as well. KRE regional bank ETF coming to this support. There's a gap here, so look for that gap to fill before it goes higher. And yeah, I think that's about it. Uh, and VIX massive 3% up move. Uh, there is, if I go to 1 hour chart, there are gaps here. So let's see if it wants to come down, fill that gap before going higher. We'll see. But if it goes down tomorrow, sells off, it fills this gap around 13.1. That's going to be very bullish for entire stock market. Okay, guys, hopefully this update was good and good luck with your trade tomorrow. I'll see you tomorrow.